Hello everyone, Ember here, and welcome back to a new video. In this one I'm going to be taking a look at the set Evolving Skies, which is sadly one of the sets that is rotating, and honestly I'm going to really miss this set, really, and all the cards that are in it, because I think it was definitely one of the more interesting sets in the Sword and Shield era. And I know I'm like saying that as if all the Sword and Shield era is rotating, but you know what I mean anyway. There's a lot of cool cards, and there's certainly a lot of fun decks to talk about, so in this video, I'm just going to talk about most of the set. I won't talk about every single card because naturally this is the Pokemon TCG. It is well known at this point, the amount of bulk it crams into every set. However, there is still a lot of interesting cards, and we can just take a look through them and see what we will be losing, I guess, which is it's a bit sad, but that's some fun stuff to talk about. So I think the first thing that we can take a look at is this Jump Luff with the attack Fluffy Barrage. Honestly, I don't think this jump luff was ever amazing, but it was certainly a source of a lot of entertainment. I've never really faced this deck on the ladder, but I do know that a lot of like other YouTubers have really enjoyed messing around with jump luff, and it's cool that they printed a Pokemon with this ability. Like being able to attack twice is so creative. However, there wasn't really that many rapid strike scrolls, I don't think, that could like really help jump luff become great, but it's still a very fun card, and I'm glad that we got something like Jump Love, even though I've personally never had much experience with it. But either way, it's a cool card. Next up, the one we can talk about is actually this Trapias over here, which has risen up lately in Lost Zone decks because it can act as a bit of a counter to Charizard EX as well as Roaring Moon. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, it's a bit sad that we'll lose Trapias. However, there is going to be I want to say, it's a Virizion, so it's like Iron Leaves or something is the name of it in the not the next set, Temporal Forces, but the set after that, Twilight Masquerade, I think, for 2 grass and a colors does like 160. So yeah, there's going to be that option if you want to play a Lost Zone counter that's single price grass. But yeah, Trapias, bit of a shame. Leafeon V and Leafeon V Max. Honestly, I will miss these cards quite a bit. Leafeon V Max, I didn't play that much on TCGO, but Leafeon V, funny enough, I did play quite a bit of because it was useful for Regidrago V Star, funny enough, because you could obviously accelerate grass energy, and Regidrago's like one of its biggest problems was the fact that it needed grass fire colors, or still does. Regidrago's not rotating. But Leafeon V was honestly just a very nice option for that deck to have. So a little bit depressing that we're losing these cards, but Lilligant, we can move on to these guys. That's bulk actually, don't need to talk about that. Crustle, again, more bulk. Poor Crustle, but yeah. Trevenant VMAX is a VMAX that unfortunately never really did anything, which is a bit of a shame. I know I'm kind of talking about flops at the minute, but yeah. Trevenant VMAX. Honestly, kind of a cool attack, 40 damage for each supported card in your opponent's discard pile. Sounds cool in theory, but realistically, I think this should have been 50 or even 60 times. Then this card would have been at least a bit more playable. But yeah, sadly, I don't think Trevenant was ever great. It would have been nice to have got a very good Trevenant card, but sadly not this one. We do have an Eldegoss, which did see some fringe play in bits and bobs like Wishy Washy, allowing you to search your deck for 2 basic energy cards, so that's cool. Do like me some Eldegoss, was a nice stage 1 and very cheap to pick up. Flareon VMAX, single strike. This was kind of like your obligatory meme deck from the set. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck, 100 damage for each energy card discarded in this way. Honestly, not the best, and being a 3-prizer meant your opponent only had to KO 2 of these to win the game, but still a very fun card to use, and not a one that I personally use that much, but still, either way, quite fun. Then we had an Entei and a Victini that were okay from what I remember. And we have a Volcarona V with Surging Flames. This one's actually pretty good and expanded from what I'm aware of. Like, I'm not too familiar with expanded and what's going on, but I have seen this pop up several times with stuff like Volcanion EX. So potentially, if we get expanded, like full expanded, back on TCG Live, then maybe this Volcarona V would be, worth picking up. So yeah, it's interesting, but cool to see nonetheless. Then we see a bunch more bulk, which we don't have to talk about. Gyarados VMAX, I will say this was quite a funny card because you could use, what's it called, Memory Capsule or the Memory Energy, I should say, as well, to copy Get Angry, which was quite funny. So your opponent would hit Gyarados VMAX, and you'll be able to do this again actually with Incineroar and the Relicanth. So that's quite cool that we're getting that combo back. But yeah, Gyarados VMAX I think was okay. Certainly better than Gyarados EX, funnily enough, and Hyper Beam was actually okay because you can actually partner this up with Arceus, which is quite nice, but yeah, Gyarados VMAX, nothing too crazy. Vaporeon VMAX, again, I would say this card is the definition of okay. I know Little Dark Fury's done numerous videos talking about Vaporeon, but sadly it didn't really do much for me personally, apart from like cheating a Wailord out into play and getting 3 energy on the Wailord, which was always quite fun. But yeah, Vaporeon, nothing too crazy there. Suicune is a completely different story, however. Definitely one of the more competitive dogs, I guess. A bit more competitive than Entei. Kind of level with Raikou, I guess, although Raikou's had Losson and Miraidon to be consistently good. Suicune unfortunately got a bit outclassed by Palkia. Once Palkia came out, there wasn't really much of a reason to play Suicune, sadly, but still. Suicune Ludicolo, definitely a cool deck, and honestly, just as separate cards, from the separate deck, I do really enjoy playing Suicune from time to time. Ludicolo is also just a really fun partner for basic attacking decks, in particular single prize decks, so sad to see these guys leave. Ludicolo, just a very fun card. Was, of course, definitely a lot stronger with Scoop Up Net, which is why you don't see this card anymore in Standard, but still, very cool card. And we also have this Milotic, which, is this okay? Yeah, this was okay, actually, for stuff like, what's it called? Tinkerton. Tinkerton. So your opponent plays an Iono, well, you can't shuffle your hand with Milotic in play, so yeah, that's nice, but sadly this guy rotates, and little Feebas looks like he's gone fishing, so yeah, Tinkerton EX, I guess, loses that, which is a bit of a nerf. Then we have Glaceon VMAX, which from what I remember was never, great. It looked like it could be a good quad deck, but never really took off as a one, and, I guess being a VMAX, it's you kind of struggle to keep them in play and not get KO'd, but either way, Glaceon VMAX. I remember this card being okay, but it was just one of those fringe cards that wasn't like bulk, but it wasn't competitive either, so it was in that weird limbo. But yeah. Also, Frozen Awakening was actually okay as an attack, but yeah, Glaceon VMAX was alright. Also, we should probably talk about Cragganol, because this was a key piece in the Groudon Kyogre deck, which is also rotating, which sucks. But yeah, Groudon Kyogre was a very fun meme deck. For those of you who haven't seen it, I do recommend just Googling Groudon Kyogre deck from Celebrations. It's a very funny deck. It never really did anything too crazy, but you could get some very hilarious wins off all the top decks. So yeah, Cragganol, very fun card to mess around with. Very sad to see that deck go. Then honestly, we have what might be one of my favorite cards from the set personally, the Wishy Washy. That could get a lot more HP if it had at least 3 water energy, which was very easy to do, of course, with stuff like Frostmoth and more recently Baxcalibur. It is still a wee bit clunky and it's a bit awkward, even though we do have the I think it's Luxurious Cape to go plus 100 HP, which is what what's it called? For the Win TCG, did a video about that recently. That was very cool. So yeah, Wishy Washy. Sad to see this guy go. Actually, I wish Wishy Washy didn't rotate, but yeah, bit of sad in that regard. But Ice Q I think was a control card. From what I remember, was Ice Q a control card? It seems like it would be, but maybe not. Arctovish exists. Raichu, yeah, Arctovish exists. Sadly. Raichu, I did actually do a video on this card, like way back, because Thunderbolt with Flaffy was honestly an okay deck, just 180. Then you also had Big Sparking to do 50 to each Pokemon V. Honestly, not a terrible card by any stretch of imagination. I know it's hard to believe that this could compete with VMAX, but 2-hit killing VMAXs for 3 prize cards, not honestly that bad. I guess you just kind of fell off there with EX Pokemon being 2 prizers, but yeah, Raichu honestly wasn't that bad. And then we can actually move on to the lightning types, or well, we just started them. What am I saying? But yeah, keep going with the lightning types. Jolteon VMAX. Okay, this was actually a playable card. Very fun as well with Radiant Alakazam. So yeah, another sad card to see that one go. Flaffy, probably one of the best cards, if not the best card from the set. Well, not the best card from the set, but certainly one of the better ones. With the ability Dynamotor, of course, seeing abundance in Miraidon. Sadly, this card is rotating, although I guess players who really despise Iron Hands will be glad to see this card go. I personally think this card wasn't particularly broken or anything. Having a retreat cost of 2 was super annoying, to be honest, once we lost Air Balloon. So yeah, I will miss Flaffy. I think it was a very fun card. The Ampharos was hilariously bad, which is quite funny, but stage 1 supremacy, I guess. Dracozolt V and Dracozolt V Max were respectively extremely annoying to play against, and I'm semi-glad this deck doesn't see play anymore. It's one of those decks where you feel like, shouldn't this have rotated out ages ago? But it just never did, and it's still in Standard, even though no one ever plays it, and no one's touched it in years. Well, months, yeah, but still, Dracozolt V Max. I will kind of miss this card in some regards. It was funny to watch people like rage quit to this online when you have like loads of potions and stuff. But yeah, very fun card. Regieleki, which was quite a nice snipe option. Nice snipe option in the Reggie box deck, but also in like Fluffy Maridon, so that's a bit sad to see that go. Hypno is a card that exists. Galarian Articuno, honestly quite fun, especially in Gardevoir, as well as Shadow Rider, another deck that is rotating. But yeah, the Galarian Birds, all three of them actually were really fun, so bit sad that that's rotating. Espeon VMAX, I don't remember ever using this card, but I know some people did, and it was good at the time, so that's cool, I guess. Hopefully Espeon EX whenever that drops, because let's face it, we are 100% getting evolutions as EX. Espeon VMAX, I hope the EX is good, basically. I do hope it's good. Wobbuffet, I think this was a card at one point, and it was okay, but I don't know much more than that. It seems alright. Sableye, kind of bad actually. Swoobat is whatever. Golok V, a bit depressing. I hope this card will be better than it was, but yeah. Can de-evolve your opponent's active Pokemon, which is a cool effect, but sadly not very good. So, yeah. 180 is obviously not a lot as well, so yeah, bit depressing. Hopefully we get a Golok EX and it's actually good, but yeah, bit tragic. Then we have Florges, which looked to be promising, I think, in some regards, but sadly being a stage 2 meant it never really did see much success. Then we have a Sylveon V, which was quite good in control, I think, for a time, and Sylveon V Max, which was pretty interesting, honestly. It did encourage you to play a lot of different types in your deck, which was, it's cool. I do enjoy attacks like that, these rainbow-style box decks. Pretty cool overall, to be honest, though you did probably just play a lot of Rapid Strike Pokemon, so like Medicham and Urshifu, which wasn't really my cup of tea, but I know that a lot of people enjoy those decks, and Sylveon's a cool Pokemon anyway, so nice to see that. Then we have Pumpkaboo, one of the most competitive cards in the set, funnily enough. Yep, Pumpkaboo. Definitely a very good card. Played in Arceus, of course, to remove Path to the Peak. Yeah, Pumpkaboo. Honestly, just a really nice artwork as well, actually. I've not really been talking about the art, but yeah, lovely artwork. Gorgeist. This was honestly one of my favorite decks for a little while. I'm ashamed to say that because it's probably horrendous. Like, I've not played it in a long time, but yeah, I can see why Pandemonium would be a terrible attack, but it was a lot of fun for a time being. It was kind of like Sandaconda in that regard. Sandaconda from Battle Styles and Groudon. Very similar style effect, but yeah. Very bad card, but very funny. Should probably do at least one more Gorgeist video before it rotates, but I probably left it too late. I don't know. But yeah, Gorgeist, very fun attacker. Rabombi exists. Marshadow, I think this card was alright for the most part. Like Shadow Flicker and Rapid Hunt were okay attacks, but yeah, it was alright. Hitmonchan sadly didn't do anything. Galarian Zapdos and Medicham V were pretty playable. I'm trying to speed things up a little bit, but yeah. I think both of these cards are pretty cool overall. The Zapdos especially. Medicham V was a bit too big brain for my liking, but a lot of people had fun with it. A lot of people got wins with it, so it's sad to see it go, I guess. Gigalith, Roggenrola's very nice artwork. Sadly, quite a bad card over there. Seismitoad is again quite bad. Lycanroc VMAX, I like to think this card did something at some point, but honestly, I don't remember it doing anything. Galarian Moltres, another competitive card that's actually pretty cool. I will miss this card because it was just very splashable in dark decks. You could just throw this onto the bench and start swinging big damage late game. It's kind of diminished in popularity because the numbers you're hitting just aren't really as good as they used to be, especially for the time in game. So late game, you want to be doing a lot more damage than this, but still, Galarian Moltres, we will be missed. Umbreon VMAX, again, a very playable card, pretty fun to use. Shiftry was sadly bulk along with Scrafty. And then Garbodor V. So we can have a look at Garbodor VMAX. Where is my Garbodor VMAX? There we go, the infamous Zoroark, which we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, Garbodor VMAX, sadly a bit of a bad VMAX card. I didn't really play that on TCGO because it just seemed like a waste of packs at the time. And truth be told, if we had had the credit system, during Evolving Skies, I probably would have crafted some Garbodor VMAX. I think it's a cool Pokemon. But sadly, yeah, there wasn't really many tools, I don't think, at the time that were that good. So sadly, Garbodor just didn't really take off or do much. And having a low damage output as well wasn't helping it. But yeah, it's a bit of a shame about Garbodor. But yeah. Then we get to probably one of the more infamous cards of the set. That is, of course, Zoroark. Sadly, this card's a bit divisive for me. I've personally never had that much success with Zork. It's always been a bit of an uphill battle, just finding the right Pokemon to discard and then finding the right energy at the right time. Just honestly, a bit of a struggle. And I honestly think there was a time where this deck was pretty good and then it kind of fell off again for some reason and got worse as time went on. I don't know why I feel that way, but it just feels like that's what happened for me personally. But yeah, Zorok, it's a bit of a shame, and I wish this deck had done a lot better than it kind of has done. And we kind of got into that frame of mind of saying, "Oh, next set Zorok will be better," and it just never really did get better, which is, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, but ended up being a bit of a clunky mess, I think, at the end of the day. Which is, however, if you did have fun with Zorok and you did get a lot of wins with it, then that's great. Obviously not bashing you for that. So, very cool card. Thievel, I think, is okay. It's an alright card. Altaria was pretty good. Altaria is used in stuff like the Cinderace single strike deck, which I know is a bit niche, but yeah, Altaria can be used for some fun things. This Salamence, which I was supposed to do a video on and never did because it ended up being quite bad, but 220 damage for 2 energy is actually alright on a stage 2, but the fact that you can only damage counters already, the fact that the ability is a semi-gust effect, but your opponent has to switch, so you don't get the choice. Feels a bit bad, but Salamence was a bit weak. Nothing compared to the flop that was Rayquaza Vmax, though. Like, flipping heck, okay? A lot of people believed in this card, okay? I've kind of gotten a bit suspicious in the weeks leading up to release. I know I did say I thought this card would be broken in my initial reveal. However, I was part of a group of friends at the time who all thought that this card was kind of too good to be true. There was just something a bit off with it. And I think once people realized in testing that there was something wrong, then yeah, that's when the alarm bells should have been ringing, because for 2 energy, Max Burst in theory was fantastic, but you did have to choose which energy to discard, which was, I think, the downside for Rayquaza. Honestly, I don't think this card is terrible either way. Japan have been able to make it work several times over, but yeah, Rayquaza VMAX, definitely one of the more infamous flops of the TCG, shall we say. And most of this is bulk, sadly. The Kyurem was, I think, pretty playable with Bax Caliber for a time, because you could use it with Frostmoth, unfortunately, but you could use it with Bax Caliber. So I guess you could also use this in Lost Zone if you really wanted to, although I've never seen anyone try that. But yeah, Bax Caliber was, I guess, popularized by Azul GG or something. But yeah, Kyurem's alright. Northern V, I don't think you did anything, sadly. Zygarde was quite funny. There was a Lapras Zygarde deck that I want to say LDF did first, or was it for the Win TCG did that? I think it might have been for the Win TCG, the more I think about it. But yeah, this Zygarde, very fun card. Drampa, I did do a video on this guy. I mean, he wasn't a great deck by any stretch of imagination, but he was fun, so give him that. Flapple, a very fun card, kind of like we have Scizor at home sort of thing now, but yeah, Acidic Mucus at the time wasn't terrible, and for 2 energy, if you wanted to commit that, you could do 160, so yeah, I like Flapple. Appleton again, hot cross bun, so gets points in my book, but a good Lugia counter actually for Zorobox, so that was nice. Then we have Duraludon VMAX, which has fallen from grace because I don't really see anyone talk about Duraludon now, which is weird considering how much of an impact this card had in the game for such a long time. And now no one talks about it. It's so strange. But yeah, Duraludon VMAX, just gone, I guess. Still in the standard, not for much longer, but gone. Rather tragic. Now we have Regidrago, which is a card that a lot of people talk about now as being pretty good, but honestly, I don't think this card was ever terrible. Like 240 for 2 grass and a fire was always okay. I think what held this card back was just the sheer amount of lost box, in the game. Just people spreading damage counters through Sableye and Greninja is what kind of really hurt Regidrago, but overall, Charm decks as well aren't the most consistent things on the planet. I guess Regibox gave this card new life, but yeah, 240 again wasn't terrible, but at the same time, I can see why people had issues with this card. It's not perfect, but still a very fun card to use. The Smeargle, I would like to actually give an honorable mention because I think it was quite fun. It wasn't great, but it was one of those cheapest chips. You could build this for a couple of bucks. Very cheap deck to play. Very fun. Could use that Eldegoss that we talked about earlier. So yeah, quite cool. This Slacking, which I was never able to make work, sadly. But yeah, it's a cool card, but yeah. If a stadium card is in play, this Pokemon can't attack. I mean, why did they give it this ability? Really, of all the abilities you could give a stage 2 Pokemon, why did you give it this? I'll never understand that, but yeah, slacking. Bit of a shame. We also have Stoutland, which was it was alright actually. Stoutland wasn't terrible. Bravery, which was bulk, a Talonflame, which was bulk. They keep printing bad Talonflames. I don't know why they keep doing that. But then we finally reached the trainers, which honestly I won't spend too long on because some of this stuff got reprinted and some stuff is just like, oh well, whatever. There's nothing like too crazy. I think Lucky Ice Pop though was quite fun. I'll give an honorable mention to Lucky Ice Pop. But yeah, some of the trainers are like whatever. Raihan, however, I will say this, I will miss Raihan so much. This card saved so many single prize decks in my eyes. It made so many of them way more playable than they ever should have been without it. So I will really, really miss Raihan. I seriously hope we get like a Rosa or Raihan reprint at some point. It's just been such a lifesaver for single prize decks. But yeah, very tragic. And as for the rest of this, I feel indifferent. Single Strike Scroll of the Fanged Dragon, funny enough, made for an hilarious deck with Weedle, because there is a Weedle, Single Strike Weedle, that can use this scroll. So yeah, that's quite funny. If you want to see any of that, I never actually did a video on Weedle Dragon Scroll, but if you want to see it, then I think LDF did at least one or two. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, some fun stuff overall. Stadiums are okay as well, actually. Stormy Mountain and Shopping Center are okay. Switching Cups is nice. And then it's on to the full arts, which we will not talk about. But they're over on Limitless, if you want to see all this stuff, of course. So it's been a bit of a tragic reveal, just seeing all these cards that people have forgotten about over time. But yeah, it's been a power. And yeah, thank you for watching.